Hey guys, back at it again this week. Today we're going to be speaking to a young man named Jefferson. This is a really cool conversation. This is one of those, must have been a God-ordained moment, because I was just out for a run during one of my lunch breaks, and all of a sudden I start hearing somebody yell, "Hey man, hey, did you see that? Did you see that?" So I look up and I see a young guy over here skating all by himself, and he asked me if I had seen it. And it took me a few moments to figure out what he was talking about, but apparently he just landed some trick. He was super excited, and he was hoping somebody saw it. So I ran over and said, "No, I didn't see it, man. Do it again." So he tried it a few more times, and he wasn't able to land it. So I said, "Hey, man, keep up the good job. Just wanted to go run." Then it just felt like the Lord was telling me, hey, if this young man is willing to ask a complete stranger to come, check out this trick, to invite him into his life because of some excitement that he had over landing a trick, then why can't I speak to a stranger about some excitement that I have in my life regarding God? So that's where the conversation went. Here is the conversation now. Hope you guys enjoy. Hope you guys learn something from it. Please be praying for Jefferson. And if you guys would, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and leave me some comments down below. Subscribe, like, leave me some comments, give me some feedback. Just say, "Rick, kudos. Keep going after it." And if you guys speak to somebody this week, leave that in the comments too about how you guys are sharing the word and walking worthy. All right, let's get to it. We're here with Jefferson. So we were just here watching you land that sick, what is it? Ollie, or no, grind into an ollie?
Yeah.
All right. What would you call it?
Ollie into 50-50.
Ollie into a 50-50. And he was cool enough that I was just on my run, and then he was so excited that he landed his move here, his trick, and so I thought it'd be cool enough to have a conversation with him. So, all right. So here we are. We're gonna watch him do this move, and here we go. He's gonna do a jumpity jump into a grindity grind into a thing. Does he land it? Let's see. Oh, all right, we're going to try this over again. All right, let's try it again. All right, coming up for the approach. Jumps. Lands the grind beautifully. 10 out of 10. Now, does he land the dismount? Yes! All right, now, I think that was the ollie thingy grind. Here's the 50-50, and perfect. That was just perfect. His Jefferson, very cool. Awesome that we get to land it on the channel. So, all right. So we're gonna have a switch to what we were going on, right? So forgive me for being out of breath here already in the conversation. Remember, I was in the middle of a run. I haven't run in forever, and my man Jefferson here was nice enough and outgoing enough to invite me over. But now is the time in the conversation where I want to switch it to a conversation about eternal things. And you'll see my method that I use here is, he's skateboarding. What happens when you skateboard? Well, sometimes you might have an accident, you might have a major injury, you might die, and I'll use that as my springboard into talking about, hey, what do you think is going to happen when you die someday? You're doing these tricks. Have you ever been done a trick, or maybe you've been out here with some friends or some videos, and you see somebody doing their skateboarding trick and they get injured? Or have you ever been injured?
Yes.
What's the worst injury you've had?
I came down this stair set and I tried to do like a nollie 3 and I landed on the board, but I went like that and landed head
right on there. Did you have to go to the hospital, or was it you just out of commission for a little bit?
I just went to go sit down and I was all right, but it sounded and looked way worse than it was.
Have you ever seen anybody with like worse than that? Like you're doing this trick. I've broken my ankle before. So as soon as you're doing this trick and you're jumping off here and you're landing on your feet, if you land wrong and your ankle hits, like I play basketball a lot, I jump up and I mess up my ankle and I will sprain my ankle a bunch. So I try not to do that anymore. Have you ever seen that? Like that would make me cringe.
Actually, this is my first day back.
Yeah.
On Sunday, I had rolled both my ankles.
Oh.
So I stopped skating for a while.
Were they swollen?
No.
Oh, God.
This one, it's always rolled, so it's just kind of loose.
That's exactly mine. As soon as I did mine once, bad, really bad, and then it's prone to getting sprained all the time. All right, so we're gonna turn it dark, right? So let's say we're having you're doing one of these tricks, and God willing, this is a long way away, right? But this is hypothetical. You're doing a trick, something bad happens, it's a major crash, a major injury, and we fast forward to the day that you stand before God, right? Well, do you believe in the afterlife? Do you believe, or I guess, what do you believe about the afterlife?
I think it's always best to ask the person, or start out with the conversation asking them, what do they believe about the afterlife? It's an interesting question. You'll always hear some interesting answers, and their answers can help lead your conversation to different topics that you might want to discuss when you're trying to swing that conversation to a discussion about Jesus and the gospel.
Well, for one, I feel like I can't just base the afterlife off of a single religion.
Right.
So I try to read as much as I can.
Yep.
But I do believe in like the heaven afterlife and the hell.
Like a paradise and a bad place? You believe in that?
Yes.
Okay. What do you think someone has to do to get there? Like what gets somebody into the paradise afterlife, and what gets somebody to the bad place, the punishment afterlife?
I guess. Alright, this may sound like offish, but to get to the paradise, I say just to be honest. Like
honest.
So I say there's no good or bad.
Okay.
But like you can tell what that is. But as long as you're willing to do what you want to do, and you're not scared of the consequences that may come, it's like you're honest with yourself. So I say you should be able to go up there for that.
Gotcha.
But at the same time, if you're honest with yourself, like I'm gonna hurt these people, and I know I am.
Yeah.
That's the reason to go down there. So
okay.
I guess my life journey will be trying to figure that out.
I hear you. So a lot of it is based on honesty, right?
It was at this point that I finally thought to ask Jefferson if he could turn off his music. He had a speaker going with some music playing. And I didn't even think about it, but I thought, oh man, now's the time for me to go ahead and ask him to just wait a second and see if he would be willing to turn off his music, because it was a little bit of a distraction at that point. And that's why you've got some background music playing in this video. It's the first time I've ever done this, but I've been doing that to try and mask that background songs that had some kind of foul language on it. But I'm also going to try and keep the music here at a very low level just to kind of see how the video pans out. If you guys think it's a nice touch, let me know.
It's about honesty, right? Why do you think honesty is so important?
Because for lies for example, saying like, my dad asked me this morning, why am I not at work? I could have said, I just don't work today, or I could have said, I've been fired. If I said I don't work today, that'd still be the truth, but
right. So there's an idea of you can lie by omission, or you can just kind of lie by so you're openly lying or lying by not telling the full truth. I hear what you're saying. And you think both of those are lies?
Yes.
Okay, so well, we won't get into it, but hypothetically, if you did lose your job and you told your dad, I don't work today, you'd say that's still a lie.
Yes.
Got you. So have you ever done that?
Yes.
So okay, so you've got this idea of, to get into the paradise, you need to be honest, but you admit, hey, I'm not honest, or at least I'm not honest all the time.
Yes.
So what do you think about that? Does that mean you're not going to go into the paradise?
I'm not Christian, but like,
I wanted to bring up the fact that I'm going to keep ringing the bell of honesty. This was something that Jefferson himself brought up as something that was very important enough to be one of the reasons that you might get into heaven or paradise, or not get into heaven and go to hell instead. And when somebody brings up a value or a trait that is something that God shares, I think it's actually a really good idea to continue to ring that bell, or continue to bring that trait up, and bring it before the person as something that is very important. It is something that we should value, because this is something that God values as well. And I'm going to continue using honesty as a touchstone to kind of ground this conversation and be something that's very meaningful to Jefferson as well.
What was I going to say?
Yeah.
Okay, so being on... hold on. Let me get my thought
Yeah.
back. To make it into the paradise would be to be honest with yourself, like knowing you've done a bad deed and knowing what's wrong with it, and giving up that area of your life.
Okay.
To be for good, to help other people and be actually part of the community. It's like plants, for example. They need sunlight, they need water, they need this and that. If you're the person that's like, okay, I don't want these clouds right here, they need to go so I can just do me.
Right.
Then you're not helping the community, because if there's no clouds, there's no rain to help
the
other plants stuff.
So putting yourself first rather than others, or the community, or whatever word we want to say.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. So if we judge it by that, right, that level of goodness, Have you met that standard?
No.
Keep this in mind too. When people are letting you know what they believe someone has to do or what standard someone has to meet to get into heaven, as soon as they explain that standard to you, I think it's a good idea to ask them, well, hey, have you met your own standard?
No.
I'm definitely in between.
Okay, so it's a little bit scary, right? So it's the Christian perspective. If you were to die, like we have an accident, you bang your head really bad, you stand before God, you're dead, right?
Right.
You're standing before the God who's created all things. And he says to you, Jefferson, why should I let you into my heaven? What would be your argument?
I'd be like, I don't think I deserve to.
Ding, 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 ding. Jefferson is 100% correct. We do not deserve to get into heaven.
You don't think you deserve to. And so he says, all right, Jefferson, if you don't deserve to be up here, then the punishment is eternity in hell, forever in hell, that place of, it's not good there, right? So what would you say then?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time. That's where I'm going.
I'm just glad for the experience, man.
Got you. You mean the experience of life itself, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So pay attention to what he's saying. He's telling God that I guess he's okay with going to hell when he dies, but he also just admitted that he absolutely loves his life. He loves the opportunity of living. And if somebody loves their life now, of course, they're going to want to protect their eternity. He just hasn't thought that through yet. And it's our job to try and wake him up to that and have him consider what's going to happen when he has to face God someday.
But you love life.
Yes.
You love your life. You love everything that you have here. You hate when you're in pain. You hate when you sprained your ankles and when you banged your head. That sucks. So an eternity of that would be terrible.
Right.
So if God were to judge you, do you think he'd find you as a good person or a bad person?
That's difficult because how I was talking about earlier line.
Yeah.
Like, to my loved ones and my friends, I would never lie.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's a cop, like, okay, you did this, I'm lying.
There's consequences or there's a fear there or something like that?
Yeah.
Got you. Okay.
So,
Yeah, so lying is a big one. And what is the ninth commandment says, thou shalt not lie, right? You've heard of the commandments, right?
Yes.
So if we use the commandments as God's standard for good, right? The ninth commandment says, thou shalt not lie. You've broken that one. All right. Have you ever, the eighth, if you were to judge you by the 10 commandments, the eighth commandment says, thou shalt not steal. Have you ever done that?
yes.
Okay, so you'd be a liar, you'd be a thief. Here's a tough one. All right, the seventh commandment says, thou shalt not commit adultery, right?
What is adultery exactly?
Adultery is when you sleep with somebody who's not your spouse. We'll try to make it quick because I see your friends here. Adultery is when you sleep with somebody who's not your spouse, right? So, but in the New Testament, Jesus says, if you even look with lust, if you have lustful thoughts, you've committed adultery in your heart. So he's judging, not only the words you say, like lying, right? The deeds that you do, like stealing, but also the thoughts that you have, right? If you have thoughts that are impure or something that he just thinks is below what he wants man to be, to aspire to, then that's a sin, right? So have you ever had, lustful thoughts like that?
To be honest, yeah.
Right, and I think all men have, especially in America, right? You can't watch a commercial without somebody trying to tempt you.
Yeah.
All right, so if you stand before God, and those are his commandments, right? We just went through 3. And I'm not judging you, right? But you've admitted you've lied, you'd be a liar. You've stolen something, you'd be a thief. You've had those lustful thoughts, so in God's eyes, you'd be an adulterer. If you stood before God as a lying, thieving adulterer, he'd find you as guilty of breaking his laws, right? And if he found you as guilty, and he's a just judge would punish people who've broken the law. He wouldn't reward them, right? So does it concern you that, if this is true, if the Bible is true, and the God who's created all things is a just judge like this, and he has this standard of goodness, which I think you've even talked about, like honesty is really important to you. That's honest. That's important to God too. If he were to judge you and find you guilty, that you'd be punished, and God willing, I don't want this to happen. That's why I'm having the conversation. But he'd be just to actually send you to a place, the place called hell, that place of punishment. Does that concern you at all? That might be in your future?
I mean, does it concern me? Like, do I think that's a possibility? Yes.
Yeah.
Am I afraid of it? Like I said earlier, do whatever you want, and don't be scared of the consequences that may come. I know what I'm doing. So I wouldn't put my argument up.
All right, we're going to pause it right here, but as you can see, this is the second time I've asked Jefferson, hey, if you were to die and God were to judge you, if you're a bad person or if you're a criminal, he would have every right to send you to hell, to this place of punishment. And does that concern you? And this is the second time that, again, Jefferson says, no, it would not concern me. So I'm going to put this out to you guys. What would you guys say in this situation? Would you throw your hands up and walk away? Would you try again? Would you use a different angle to try and wake him up to the possibility, and not just the possibility, but the reality that to stand before a holy God as a sinner is going to have some horrible, horrible consequences. And if we are loving, we want to save him, save everyone from having to stand before a holy God in their sins when God has given them the gift of forgiveness in Jesus Christ's death and resurrection. So what would you guys do? Put it in the comments below. Again, thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys are enjoying this. Hope you guys are learning. And if you are, share it with a Christian, or maybe even share it with a lost friend. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and come back again next week for the follow-up episode to see where we go with Jefferson.